will be a video, it just won't contain everything. So I was thinking, I want to do something that has a little bit of a retail component so that it relates to Vince's. But I was thinking, let's do like a simple coffee shop, so something not too complicated. Again, we're just sort of inventing things, and I'm not going to worry about getting every single attribute in there, which again, for years I would want you to do that. But so what would we do what would we want in our coffee shop for entities? We'll worry about the relationships after we get some of the entities in there.
Coffee?
Would
Coffee
it be
beans or products?
maybe product? Coffee shops usually sell more than coffee, right?
Well, it's just
They sell cups.
Yeah, I mean, and they'll sell,
Sometimes they sell food, breakfast.
yeah.
Pastries.
I'm just going to do a product key, and we could do things like product name. I'm not going to do, as I said, a lot of these, but product type, which we might talk about in a moment. And when you run out of attributes, you can drag one over. Been doing so, and then I'll do like price, product prices if I'm being consistent. What other what other entities might we want here? As I said, we'll do the relations after we get, what? You said tax category?
Oh, sorry. Product? I'm sorry.
Oh, so you might want, so we have product. We have product type, but we could actually, this is something if you wanted to, you could have a lookup of what the product types are. Oh, attribute?
Mm-hmm.
There's an attribute. Yeah, just,
Oh.
you see it there, I can zoom if you need. And then I just attached it to the bottom. There's probably a better way to do it. So what were you, the category type? You might have customer. Do we want to keep track of customers?
Sure. Voice program.
I can't type today. I'm going to do like just their name. Again, I'm not worried about making this real full because the relationships are going to be the main point. What else would we want? Inventory? We might. Inventory is an interesting thing here.
Why do we have two customer keys?
Because I was thinking of something else when I was typing. Supposed to be customer name. And again, you'd probably want to break it out. Inventory is interesting in a coffee shop because it's a really kind of mixed thing. So on one hand, you have coffee bean, bags of coffee probably. You might have bread and meat, lunch meat, and lots of things. And then you have others that are prepackaged and things. And the things that you sell don't have necessarily a direct tie to inventory. Like a sandwich would use different elements from the inventory. It gets a little bit complicated, but we'll not worry. So I'm just putting enough things in here so that it kind of makes sense what they are. This will give you a clue. So we probably, and you probably want quantity and stuff like that. When you have inventory and stuff, you probably have vendors. So I'm just going to add a vendor here. Vendors are complicated. but we could keep it simple if we want. I'm gonna just do vendor name, vendor phone. Typically, vendors, as I said, are more complicated because you'll have contacts and different ways to contact them and things, but we'll just leave it simple.
Wouldn't we want to have a linking table between the inventory and the vendor
We might.
instead of having the vendor key and inventory? Because we could get similar items from different vendors.
That's true. Good idea. So I said I was keeping things simple.
So
That's all right. What else would we want? So we've got products, we got customers, we got the vendor. We probably would want something about employees, even though, as I said, we probably don't necessarily want to do the whole oh, it's over there. Just a sec. Employee key. I think just do that. So the vendor, I just put vendor name and vendor phone. Employee key. What else? One other big component we should probably do, and then we'll do the relationships.
Transactions or sales?
Yeah, sales or transactions, but the point of sale stuff a little bit. I think I said before at the start, transaction is a kind of a natural name for a table, but it's also a reserved word. So I think I'll use sale. So I'm just going to drag in, and I know this is going a little fast, but we'll talk it through. So I'm bringing in one, I'll call it sale, and I'm going to do sale key, which would be like sale number. I would probably do the date, sale date. What else would we have in the top of the sale?
Customer.
We might have the customer name. Yeah,
What about customer key?
yeah. And probably the employee key.
We did the transaction.
Actually, probably not, but I'll show you why. I'm going to do one more entity here. So one of the things you might have here too, this is probably where I put the tip, sale tip or whatever. If you are doing tips on a card or something. Other things you might have in here. I don't want to spend a lot of time, but this is part that's sort of relevant to your Vince thing. What would you want to call it? Purchase type? I'm thinking of whether it's credit card, cash, or you have a good name for that. I don't know. Sale type, by which I mean credit, cash. All right, so I drug another one over here, and I'm going to call this sale detail. And it's going to have sale key, sale detail key. We'll also have a sale key, and I'll make all this stuff foreign keys and everything in a moment. And this would have the product key. And probably, what else? Quantity?
Employee again?
No.
No, because that keeps me safe.
Yeah, it's in the sale. Technically, if I was being consistent, so quantity would be sale detail quantity. Which I'm not always consistent when I get into a table like this. Is there anything else that I would want to know in there? Maybe discount. If you're going to do any discounts.
where are we factoring
I
zero
can't
out?
see
The sale amount would come from the product. What do you mean by the sale amount?
The total allowance, yeah.
You don't,
We're not gonna have
you
to-
never have to, because you can always calculate it. There are some complications to this, though, if you need to track changing prices. They do sometimes put the, they usually don't calculate the total, but they sometimes repeat the price. And let me unzoom here so you can see more of this at once. And I'll pause for a second and let you guys, because then the next thing we'll do is we'll do this. I just wanted to do the sale and sale detail because again, Vincent will have this. It is almost always the case that you need to split the sale into two tables. One way to look at it is that this is the top of your receipt and these are the line items, right, when you purchase. So if you look at a receipt, they usually have the store name and the employee number and the terminal number and et cetera at the top and the date. And then you have your lines that you purchased. So the detail is for all the line items that you purchased, and this is for the top, basically. And you can create a report that combines these two. Yeah, which is what you would do to create a receipt. But the thing is, you can't put it in this table. Anybody, why would happen if you put the product in here?
All the sale information would be duplicated for every
Right.
product that was purchased in one.
Yeah, everything would be duplicated. Basically, you'd have to have a different sale for every product. That would be a bit of a pain. If you did something like you did product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, what would be the problem with that?
Just have like really long reports probably.
Well,
With one
but
number?
also, so there's a few problems with that. One of them is that, say you had 12, 15 product lines. Like if they only bought one product, you've wasted 14 lines. If they had 17 products, then you have 15 slots, then you're in trouble because it won't fit. And the other thing is if you wanted to search for the sale of any one product, you'd have 17 fields to search. Or 15 fields to search, which is a mess. This is just much cleaner, works much better to separate out the details. Okay, so I'm going to do some relationships in a moment. Are you guys ready or you need a minute?
I need-
Okay. You've already started. Oh, that's from earlier. Again, I'm going to post this, but I'll post it as a picture. I suppose I could upload a video if somebody wanted to.
Do we have a quantity in inventory or not?
You could. I didn't fill out the inventory very thoroughly. All of these things, particularly like inventory and vendor, they would probably have a whole lot more fields. I was just de-emphasizing the attributes for the sake of the relationships, which we're going to do in a minute. Yeah, not all of these things would probably, you need to think through about what actually the attributes would be, and there'd probably be a lot of them in some of the entities. Tell you what, for those that are not quite done with these two, I could probably upload the Visio files in Canvas, and then you could have access to it. If you don't have a PC. You'd also have to have Visio. That's the other bad part. So, is it worth uploading? You probably could only do it in this lab. I'm just giving people time to finish, but it's not crucial because this isn't an assignment or anything. It's just an exam. You almost there? Okay. All right, so let's look at the relationships. A lot of the foreign keys aren't in here yet, so we'll probably have to add those, and we'll mark them. we'll make the relationships, I think, look pretty good. So you were talking that vendor should be a many-to-many relationship? Vendor to inventory. Because basically, you could get the same thing from different vendors, different times. And, okay, so if we do that, we would need another entity, which is a linking entity. And it would just be, actually, let me think about how that would go. You know what I would almost do this is a little bit different. I would do, I'm going to call this purchases, and I'm going to give it a purchase key. In a way, just naming it a key is kind of a punt as to what that key actually is going to be. And I'm going to do inventory key and vendor key. And I probably would add at least the date, right? The date, purchase date. That makes sense? Because, so this allows any particular purchase to be recorded. And so you could use a different vendor for any item. This would be a foreign key. The vendor key would be a foreign key.
Do we need the inventory key and the product key as a foreign key?
So it has some problems if we do that, in the sense that it's probably a many-to-many thing too. Let's look at these first, and then we'll come back to that. But that's actually good, because otherwise this vendor and inventory isn't going to be particularly attached to anything. Do I still have? Oops. Paste. Undo. What I was looking for was, I was hoping I still had the relationship. All right. So in this case, the one side would go to vendor, and the mini side down to purchases. And I'm trying to get it. There we go. And the same, I'm going to copy this. So the one side to might have to actually. Come on, I hate these. Just want it to hook. And it's not hooking. What am I dragging there? There we go. So that as a many-to-many, basically we have vendor. Each vendor can be part of many purchases, and each inventory item can be purchased but from many vendors. Does that make sense? Between product and inventory, so some of them are basically the inventory key could be like just it, but others, like if you have a sandwich, and unless you're buying your sandwiches pre-made.
So I'm confused as how we don't have any connection to our product.
Well, we haven't finished the connections for one, but
Well, I understand, but I mean, how does product and inventory?
that's what we're just talking about. It's a little complicated. Right, because this, if you're thinking of a coffee shop or something and they're selling sandwiches and things, some things are one-to-one. Like if you have a cup that you're selling, that's just an inventory item and you're selling it. So that, it would fit in here. But what if it's a sandwich and you have bread and you have meat and you have produce and you have a whole bunch of stuff that might be in your inventory, but they all come together for a sandwich? Does that make sense?
Sure.
I mean, the easy way to do it is just say we buy all of our sandwiches prepackaged and then you can just sell them. Then you could just put you want to do that for simplicity, or do you want to, otherwise it's like a many-to-many relationship again.
Define something, tell you what inventory items relate to a product.
Right.
Compare.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you would really care. I do know, like my daughter runs a cafe in Eatonville. It does pretty good. And they generally don't figure out what their inventory goes into what things. They just inventory costs versus, the price that they're taking in. They don't. I don't know that very many people actually would analyze. You might analyze it once or twice when you're setting prices. Let's just say, just for simplicity, that they buy all their stuff prepackaged so that each thing is a separate inventory item. In that case, you could do inventory key here. And then you could do a relationship. The one side would be over here, though. Come on. And the mini side. Yay, it worked. Okay. So every item would be an inventory, and then the inventory key here would be the foreign key over there. And that only works, as I said, if the inventory items are prepackaged, basically. Now, I might move the customer table. I know this stuff is probably driving you nuts, but I'm just trying to figure out how, for what it's worth, Visio drives me nuts too. And getting a decent looking thing out of this can be a real pain. The thing about customer is that the only place that the customer actually links is on the sale. So if I drag it down here closer to the sale, drag these up. Now that's broken. Where did this go to? It must go to inventory. Actually, so I could do sale. I'm just trying to drag this around so that it will look okay when we actually do it. And then I'll show it to you. As I said, it's a pain to get this all to look. So basically, we're just going to hook in the customer key to the sale. So one customer can participate in mini sales, right? Just as one employee. Can participate in many sales, and I'll put this on screen where you can see it for a while. And each sale can have many details. And I think that's, and then let's just make some foreign keys. And then I'll try to put it up where you can see it all. Do I have product? I don't have product link here yet, do I? I've done this for a long time, so if you're having problems, oops, that's not a primary key. If you have problems, don't worry, because I still have lots of problems, and I've done it for a long time. So I'm going to move employee down just a hair, although that makes a mess. I hate how those lines jump around. And it's almost impossible to get these all to look good. I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to go to Presentation Mode, and I'm hoping that I can put it all on the screen. As I said, it's a bit of a mess in terms of the lines. So what I would ask about first is, are there any questions? What doesn't make sense? And I know that this is a mess because I got different things crossing in the middle. But what doesn't make sense to you in this? And then we can talk it through maybe. Does it make sense? So I can talk through, where do we want to start? So we have the inventory, and again, I didn't fill out all the inventory fields. There'd be a lot of them. So, and we buy our stuff from a vendor. This is kind of resolves the fact that we can buy the same things from multiple vendors. So one vendor can be part of many purchases. And our inventory item can also be purchased from many vendors, right? So one to many, one to many, but this resolves so that, you know, we can have get our stuff from anybody, basically. When we make a sale, the employee is involved in it, and again, there could be a whole lot more fields here, right? You could get it a lot more detail and things if you want. But the employee is involved in the field, and a customer, you would want to probably make this thing null if you don't have the customer information. But you might want the customer information so you can give them promotions and free coffee once in a while. Although, as somebody mentioned in the last class, small coffee shops usually just give you a punch card rather than keep track of you. But, you know, so the customer is probably an optional thing there. And then every sale can have multiple details, which is basically a way of saying you could buy 5 lattes. So there would be a line in here for every latte, right? And maybe this one is discounted because you had a punch card. So you could do that, yeah.
Could this be related to many vendors? Yeah, the vendor.
The vendor, yeah.
Can be related to many vendors.
Well, so the idea of this is there's one vendor. The thing is that you might buy your items from different vendors at different times. So this was sort of to resolve that, so that the item, the inventory key, the thing that we're buying for inventory, could come from different vendors. And then I put the date down there because it'd probably be, you'd want it, you know, for different dates. Does that make sense? If you always bought from one vendor, then you could just put the vendor key in the inventory, probably. Yeah.
So the answer to your question is no, because you wouldn't make a purchase from many vendors at once. Each vendor you'd only purchase from at a time.
Yeah.
So you can have a purchase that's linked to many items for that vendor, and you can have an item that's linked to many purchases for different vendors, but you wouldn't have one purchase that's linked to many vendors because you place purchases.
Part of me wants to take this out of the screen, the full screen view to fix this mess. But, you know, one of the arts of this, if you're ever using these for a presentation, is to figure out how to lay it out so that all the lines are clear and the relationships are clear, because they generally, as I said, it's squirrely. They just, the lines hop around. It can be a real pain. I'm doing this for myself. Just draw it by hand. I do. But if you need to present the diagram or you need to use it for documentation, then a program like this is useful. But yeah, a lot of times if I'm trying to think through a database, I'll just do like customer, and then I'll do, purchase or something. I'll just draw it by hand. And I usually don't do all the fields, though I will do it when I actually build. Just because what's usually is complicated is how things relate to each other. As I said, I don't expect this to sink in right yet. Maybe it will, but it takes some practice with it. It takes some time playing with these things. And we'll talk about next time about normalization, which was a further refinement on this. Just to let you know, we've already normalized quite a bit. When I was leading you through the process, because I kind of, we already broke things up in a way that you might not have initially thought about doing. So we've already done some normalization, but I'll lead you through the formal discussion of normalization. What I was going to do for the last 15 minutes or so, do you want to do a quick practice and then compare notes? Yes, no, you just want to go home. That was a go home.
So are we able to save this somewhere?
Yeah, you can save them. So there's actually multiple ways you can save them. I guess the practice we could do next time. So I'm doing out of here. Let me zoom so you can see the menus. So file.
Mhm.
It's still kind of small there, isn't it? I think I can go up one more. So if you do save as, so you have lots of places you can save it. So just to let you know, so if you save it as a drawing, and you can give it a name, VSDX.
So we saving it on my PC?
Yeah, you can save it on my PC documents, wherever you want to save it.
Okay.
This is the native type for Visio, but you can save it as, oops, I'm trying to get down there. As the type, you can save it as a lot of different types. So Visio drawing, if you want to use it in Visio, but you can save it as a PDF. You can save it as a web page. You can save it as a JPEG. You can save it as any kind of visual format. You can save it as SVG, scalable vector graphics, which we talked about earlier. I mean, there's a lot of that. You can make it an AutoCAD drawing. You can save it as however you want. Generally, if you want to just open it in Visio, just do the first one. And you can open it again. And if you have Visio at home, it'll open there too. I might post mine in Canvas for those that want it. I could do that real quick. And I guess we'll save the practice for next time. Although we still got 15 minutes or half hour. What time do we end?
3.
Yeah, do you guys want to practice? I guess I could make it optional.
Is there any way in Canvas to send pieces of like a document from our class to another student that I can see on the classroom?
You should be able to.
I know you're about to. Canvas you can too, yes.
I think you can in Canvas. Anybody know? You can send to another student?
If you're in the same group,
Do you have to be in a group?
I think so.
Oh, well, we are, actually.
And then you just go to your collaboration and post it there.
I'm going to stop the video.